What's going on, guys? My name is Zach and welcome back to the Financial Strength Project. Today we're going to be talking about some of the more common mistakes that people make with their money when they're in their 20s and why it's important that you should avoid them. Alright, let's kick it off. One of the biggest mistakes people seem to make early on is waiting to invest. The more time that you have for compound interest to take effect and do its thing, the better off you're going to be. For example, let's say you started to invest $300 a month from the time that you were 20 until you're 60. If we take an average investment return of 8%, you'll have over $1 million. However, if you started to invest just 5 years later at the time that you're 25, let's have a look at what happens. By the time you reach 60, you'll only have $600,000. This is why it's important to start investing early, as compound interest and time really does make quite the difference. High interest debt. Australians in total have more than $50 billion racked up in debt, with more than 19% as the average interest rate. So whether making everyday purchases like grocery and fuel or buying luxuries like fancy shoes and clothes, make sure that if you're using a credit card, you pay that back at the end of the month to avoid being stuck with such high percents of interest. And let's not forget late fees and other charges that are parts of credit cards as well. Because at the end of the day, this is all going to take away from the capital that you have that you could be able to invest somewhere and make a return on your own money. This moves us straight on to our next point: delaying gratification and living within your means. Time and time again, I've seen it with close friends, acquaintances, and even myself when I was fresh out of school and just got a job, spending up big on luxuries and not living within your means. I'm talking about buying flash new cars, jewelry, watches, going out to clubs and fancy restaurants far too often. If you borrowed $50,000 for a new car at an average rate of 8.9% interest over 5 years, you're going to pay back a total of $62,000. And not to mention how quickly a car depreciates in value the moment you leave the showroom floor. Further on, let's take a look at what would have happened if you invested $62,000 into the market. Over 30 years, without adding a single dollar more and just letting compound interest do its thing, you'd be sitting on a tidy sum of over $670,000. This brings us to our next point: not having an emergency fund. I don't know about you, but for a while there, every time I just start to get my expenses sorted and get on top of things, it felt like something would go wrong, like the fridge would break, or I'd need to fix a water pipe, or some other random expense or bill would pop up out of nowhere. Without an emergency fund, you'd need to take a loan or jump back into credit card debt straight away, which is then again going to depreciate from the capital that you'll have to invest because you need to get that high interest debt paid off, and this can become quite a vicious cycle without having a few $1,000s sat away in a rainy day account just in case you have an emergency. Not knowing how to budget. Before investing or putting an emergency fund together, you need to understand how to budget. I'll leave a link to one of my videos on how to budget in the description, but it's really nothing more than income minus your expenses. Many people are still living paycheck to paycheck and actually have no idea on what their expenses are. Budgeting is definitely one of the fundamental tools you're going to need to understand your spending so that you can maintain where it's at and slowly build yourself towards wealth. Now, I'm not a financial professional and all of this is just my opinion, but I can tell you that if you avoid these money traps while you're in your 20s, you'll be well on your way in the future to paving the path towards financial freedom. So please do subscribe, check out some of my other videos on the channel, and as always, smash that like button if I've helped you learn anything today about moving towards financial freedom. And as always, until the next one, guys, thank you.